Mahi said slowly, Ranvir, there is someone at the door. Ranvir held Mahi tightly and said, whoever it is, will go by itself. But don't go anywhere now. After a while, the sound of the door knocking stopped. Maybe whoever it was, left because the door didn't open. Mahi then raised her head and said, but I have to get ready quickly and go down. Auntie had told me that one has to get up early in the in-laws' house. Saying this, as soon as she was about to get up, she realized that she had not worn clothes. She quickly covered herself well with the blanket. She was feeling very shy in this condition. She looked at Ranvir, feeling shy, who was looking at her with a smile on his head. When Ranvir saw Mahi feeling so shy, he himself got up from the bed and extended one hand to pull the blanket from her. Mahi held the blanket tighter and said, what are you doing? Ranvir did not respond to her. And this time, he pulled the blanket and separated it from Mahi. Then he picked her up in his lap and went to the washroom. He put Mahi under the shower and turned on the shower, due to which Ranvir and Mahi were both drenched in water. Mahi was still bowing her head. She was feeling that she should hide in a corner where no one would see her. Her cheeks had already turned pink with shame. And now they were getting more pink in the warm water of the shower. Seeing this, Ranvir's heartbeat was increasing even more. His wet lips were looking like drops of urine on a rose petal. He grabbed Mahi's head from behind and brought her face closer to him. And started kissing her. Mahi had her hands on Ranvir's chest. Being under the shower and Ranvir's forceful kiss were not allowing Mahi to breathe. And she was trying to push Ranvir away again and again. She put her nails in Ranvir's chest. But Ranvir was so lost in kissing her that he did not feel anything else. Then once again there was a sound of the door knocking. So Mahi pushed Ranvir away with all her strength. Mahi was now taking long breaths. Seeing her condition, Ranvir's lips were laughing mischievously. He licked his lips with his thumb and again grabbed Mahi from behind and brought her closer. Her grip was very strong, because of which Mahi felt as if she would die. Mahi said while trying to push her away from herself, Ranvir, leave me. I am not able to breathe. Despite her insistence, instead of letting her go, Ranvir tightened his grip. Now Mahi was about to cry. Her eyes were wet. And she said in a weeping voice, Ranvir, please leave me. I am in pain. Ranvir bowed down near her ear and said, don't try to push me away from myself again. Got it? There was a warning in the tone of his voice which Mahi also understood. With this, she loosened her grip on Mahi. And a little away from her, raising one of her eyebrows, started looking into Mahi's eyes. As if asking her, did you understand what I said? Mahi also quickly shook her head in agreement. Seeing this, Ranvir's lips again had a devil's smile. He removed Mahi's wet hair from her face and said, good girl. Now get ready quickly. Saying this, he kissed Mahi on the cheek and came out of the bathroom. When he came out and opened the door first, there was a maid bowing her head in front of him. As soon as the door opened, she said, Ma'am has called the daughter-in-law downstairs. Hearing the maid's words, Ranvir replied, yes, Mahi is getting ready now. She will come in a while. Saying this, he closed the door again and sat on the sofa and started using his phone. After a while, Mahi came out of the washroom wearing a bathrobe. Her eyes met Ranvir's eyes, who was sitting on the sofa. Seeing Mahi, he was standing to come to her. Mahi quickly entered the changing room. Seeing Mahi running like this, Ranvir smiled and shook his head and moved towards the washroom. Mahi was wearing a yellow anarkali suit. Because Ranvir had filled his entire body with bite marks, so she could not wear a sari even if she wanted to. She got ready quickly and went down. Because she did not want Ranvir to stop her again, so she went out of the room before Ranvir left the washroom. Meanwhile, Ranvir's mom Anita ji was sitting on the sofa with grandma and talking to her. That's when her eyes went to Mahi coming from the stairs. Seeing Mahi, both of them smiled. Mahi went to her and touched both of their feet and took blessings. Grandma kissed her forehead and took her to her. Anita ji lovingly said to Mahi, Mahi, dear, today is your first day in the kitchen, so you have to make something sweet. Mahi asked, what should I make sweet? Anita ji said, dear, whatever you know to make well, you can make that. Hearing this, Mahi nodded her head in agreement. So Anita ji called her maid and said, you help Mahi in the kitchen. The maid said, okay ma'am. Saying this, the maid took Mahi to the kitchen. In a while, everyone reached the dining table for breakfast. Everyone was in the kitchen to help Mahi because they knew that Mahi does not know much about cooking. The maid put the breakfast on the table. Mahi had made kheer in sweet today. She brought the bowl of kheer and put it on the table. All the family members were present at the table at that time. Ranvir was sitting on his chair and checking emails on the phone. Ranvir's grandfather, dad and uncle were also present there. In a while, Vedant and Rudra also reached there. Ruhi was already sitting on the chair and waiting for breakfast. When all the breakfast was served on the table, Grandma asked Mahi to serve kheer first. Mahi was feeling very nervous at that time. She was thinking in her mind, oh Lord, please bless me that kheer should be good and everyone should like it. Thinking this, she looked at Sarika. Sarika told her to relax with the gesture of her eyes. Mahi took a deep breath and served kheer to everyone. Then she started waiting for everyone to eat kheer. Ranvir looked at Mahi. He could clearly see the nervousness on her face. Then Mahi's eyes met Ranvir's eyes. So Ranvir put a spoonful of kheer in his mouth while looking at her. As soon as he ate kheer, a smile appeared on his lips. Then he indicated to Mahi that the kheer is good. Mahi was also very happy to know this. She took a deep breath and started waiting for everyone's reaction. One by one, everyone praised Mahi's kheer and gave her the first kitchen gift. Ranvir's grandfather, father and uncle finished their breakfast and got up. Now on the table, Ruhi, Rudra, Ranvir, Vedant, Kavya, Sarika and Anita were sitting. Anita also asked Mahi to sit. So Mahi started sitting next to Ruhi. Then Anita asked her to sit next to Ranvir. Mahi listened to her and sat next to Ranvir. Ruhi said to Mahi, Mahi, you told me that you don't know how to cook. Anita scolded Ruhi a little and said, Ruhi, now she is your sister-in-law, so now don't call Mahi by her name. Ruhi said, what aunt, Mahi is also my friend. And anyway, whenever I call her sister-in-law, she fights with me. She says that I should call her by her name. Mahi said suddenly, no auntie, she used to tell me to tease me. That's why I used to fight with her. Liar. After saying this, she remembered that she was in her in-law's house. She looked around and saw that everyone was looking at her. Then she bowed her head and said, sorry. After saying this, she heard everyone laughing. So she looked at everyone. Anita laughed and said, my cute daughter-in-law, you don't have to say sorry. You are just like our Ruhi. And why did you call me auntie? Just like I am Ranvir and Kavya's mother, now I am your mother too. So you can call me mother or mom. Okay. After listening to her, Mahi's eyes got teary. She said in a weeping voice, Mother, Ranvir, who was sitting next to Mahi, when he heard Mahi's voice, he started thinking looking at her face. What is there to cry about? Then Anita came to Mahi and hugged her. And said lovingly, what happened, child? Why are you crying? Now everyone sitting there wanted to know the reason for Mahi's tears. Sarika said, Mahi's mother passed away a few hours after giving birth to her. So Mahi had no one to call her mother. Today she has called someone mother for the first time. That's why she is emotional. After listening to Sarika, everyone sitting there got a little emotional. Anita waved her hand on Mahi's head and said, Mahi, now I am your mother too. And if anyone bothers you, tell me directly. I will pull his ears. After listening to her, Mahi, who had become emotional a while ago, said happily, okay, mother. Then she looked at Ranvir and said, Mother, he bothers me a lot. You will pull his ears too, right? Vedant and Rudra were drinking coffee. After listening to Mahi, the coffee in their mouth came out suddenly. Everyone else started laughing. Ranvir shook his head and went back to his phone. Mahi looked at everyone with confusion and said, "What did I say?" After that, Ranvir got up from his chair and held Mahi's hand and took her with him. Ruhi, who had been watching this for a long time, said while shaking her head, "Now brother is going to bother her again." Saying this, she started eating a sandwich. Anita pointed out to her to stay quiet. Rudra went to Vidhant's ear and said slowly, "It seems that Ranvir has bothered the poor girl." After hearing this, Vidhant could not stop himself from laughing. Ranvir brought him to the room and locked the door of the room from inside. Mahi said to Ranvir, "I want to go out." "And why did you lock the door?" He was afraid that Ranvir might have got angry because he complained to his mother. Ranvir said nothing to him and he slowly started coming to Mahi. Mahi was also going back in fear. But could she go any further? Then Ranvir pulled her and brought her to himself. Mahi went straight to his chest. Is Ranvir angry with Mahi because of complaining? Will he punish Mahi for this? What is Ranvir going to do with Mahi? To know more, keep listening to Oh Baby only on Love Pulse Diaries.